Have you ever wondered why the truths that ache to be spoken, the quiet hopes and hidden hungers, can create distance instead of intimacy? Most women believe that early honesty will bind a man closer, yet the deeper reality is far more paradoxical. What seems like openness can unravel connection. Carl Jung taught that the psyche thrives on mystery, that the dance between anima and animus depends as much on what remains unspoken as on what is revealed. In a world of instant messaging and overexposure, that ancient rhythm matters more than ever. Picture a woman who carries her inner world like a constellation only partly visible. She walks beside him luminous but untamed, her silence not cold but magnetic. He senses a gravity around her that words cannot fully explain. In the male unconscious lives a quest for discovery. He is drawn not to conquest alone, but to meaning. When every secret is given too soon, the journey collapses before it begins. You know this truth in your own body: the allure of a pause can eclipse 1,000 declarations. The first hidden desire is the dream of complete union, two souls dissolving until no edge remains. This is as ancient as myth and as perilous as unbridled fire. To speak of it too quickly is to ask a man to surrender his own becoming before it has ripened. Jung called this the projection of the self, the illusion of wholeness placed upon another. He may not name it, but he feels the instinctive recoil. Your individuation, the sacred path of becoming whole, requires that you cradle this longing until love is strong enough to honor two entire universes. The second desire is subtler, the wish to be the center of his orbit, the single star that outshines all others. It carries the fragrance of the great mother archetype, nurturing, radiant, but capable of devouring. Reveal it too early and he feels the pull of that shadow, the fear of being consumed. Guard it tenderly. Let your friendships blaze, your passions range wide. When he sees you belong first to yourself, he can approach without terror of erasure. A third desire flickers like a candle in wind, the hunger for eternal promises before roots have even taken hold. It is the ring before the seasons have turned, the craving for certainty in a world of flux. But urgency smells of desperation, and desperation suffocates magnetism. Jung spoke of the tension of opposites, the fertile space where desire and patience meet. When you let that space breathe, his own unconscious gathers courage to choose freely. Only a free choice can endure. Then comes the longing to bear every scar, to spill your history of wounds and triumphs all at once. Vulnerability is sacred, but timing is its protector. To offer everything before trust has settled is to hand him a weight he has not earned the strength to carry. Your story is a labyrinth, let him discover each chamber as intimacy deepens. Mystery is not manipulation, it is the soul's natural rhythm. The fifth desire hides deepest, the quiet urge to steer the bond, to guide its destiny with unseen hands. But love shaped by control loses its wonder. To release this need is to invite the unexpected, the sacred chaos where real intimacy breathes. He senses that freedom and moves closer, not out of fear, but fascination. These desires are not sins, they are the heartbeat of the feminine soul. Yet they are also flames, and flames revealed too soon can burn. Beneath those first veiled desires lies a deeper law of the psyche, a rhythm older than speech. Jung called it the tension of opposites, the magnetic field where feminine and masculine spiral toward wholeness. In that field, timing is the quiet sovereign. The woman who understands this does not rush to translate every heartbeat into words. She lets silence mature, until it becomes a presence of its own, a low hum that draws him closer than any hurried confession ever could. Watch how a man responds when mystery is honored. At first he circles like a traveler glimpsing distant firelight. Something about her unsettles and entices. Her eyes hold the weight of an undiscovered country, her pauses open doorways he cannot help but approach. The masculine unconscious is not simply hungry for possession. It is wired for discovery. When a woman empties her soul too soon, the quest collapses, and attraction withers, not because she is unworthy but because the path has ended before it began. You may feel the tug to confess everything when his gaze softens, the tender childhood memories, the fragile visions of the future, the precise contour of your need. But true intimacy is not forged in a single flood of words. It is forged in the slow revelation of a self that remains whole even as it draws another near. This is not a game, it is devotion to your own becoming. By keeping a private core, you honor the self, the indestructible essence that Jung described as the true aim of individuation. A love that respects the self becomes a crucible where both are transformed. Consider the paradox: the distance you maintain becomes the cradle of trust. He approaches because he feels the steadiness of a heart that will not collapse into his. Your quiet autonomy speaks louder than declarations, telling him that your life is already abundant. In that spaciousness, desire can breathe. He begins to reveal himself, fragment by fragment, secret by secret, drawn by the calm gravity of a woman who belongs first to her own depths. This changes every encounter. A conversation stretches like twilight across an endless sky. A single glance carries unspoken volumes. He notices the way you listen more than you speak, the way your laughter holds both shadow and light. He tastes the dignity of a soul that does not beg for recognition. And in that atmosphere, his own hidden longings rise, a craving for connection that does not consume, for a partner who reflects his infinite possibilities rather than confines them. Such is the power of silence alive with self-worth. It is not the silence of withdrawal or disinterest, it is the silence of an inner world too rich to be rushed. Mystery here is not manipulation. It is the soul's native language. When you embody it, you awaken an archetype older than words, the lover who draws without ensnaring, the priestess who invites without pleading. He senses the difference even if he cannot name it, and in that nameless place his attraction deepens beyond logic. Let your desires remain like hidden gardens at dawn, their fragrance drifting on a breeze he can almost, but not quite, catch. Let him find the path one step at a time, guided by his own hunger to know you. The woman who understands the dance of revelation and concealment does not fear the quiet, she wields it like a melody only the worthy can hear. And in that melody lies there is a threshold in every deepening bond when the quiet becomes luminous. The woman who has honored her hidden desires begins to feel a subtle shift, the mystery is no longer a shield but a light that invites without surrendering. He senses it as a dawn across the horizon, the faint glow that tells him the journey is worth every step. What began as a chase now transforms into a pilgrimage, a search not for conquest but for meaning. Jung spoke of this evolution as the meeting of anima and animus in their refined state. The masculine no longer rushes to capture, the feminine no longer hides to evade. Instead, both move toward a sacred middle ground where revelation is neither demanded nor withheld, but chosen. She does not suddenly bare every secret, nor does she keep her soul locked away. Her words arrive like slow rain, each drop deliberate, each silence a benediction. The mystery remains, but now it carries the fragrance of welcome. He feels the difference in her gaze. There is an openness there, but never collapse. He knows she belongs first to herself, and that knowledge draws him closer with a reverence that eclipses mere desire. Conversations stretch like trails through a vast forest, every pause alive with possibility. He begins to share pieces of his own inner world, fears he has hidden, dreams he has barely admitted to himself, because her calm strength assures him that vulnerability will not lead to diminishment. This is the paradox of mature intimacy: the more she remains whole, the more he longs to merge, the more space she allows, the more he seeks closeness. Attraction, once fueled by the thrill of the unknown, now deepens through respect and awe. He is drawn not only to the shape of her body or the sound of her laughter, but to the steady gravity of her being. She, in turn, feels the safety to open a little more of her hidden heart, trusting that revelation will be met not with conquest but with quiet wonder. Yet even here the shadow waits. To mistake this stage for permanent arrival is to invite stagnation. Jung warned that love must remain a living process, a dance of opposites that never fully resolves. The temptation to seek guarantees, to demand forever before its season, still lingers at the edges. But she has learned the art of patience. She knows that the most enduring bond is one chosen freely, renewed daily, unbound by the fear of loss. In this fertile middle ground, each gesture becomes ceremonial. A shared breath beneath the night sky. A lingering touch that speaks of trust without a single word. Every act is deliberate, alive with the awareness that intimacy is sacred territory. The woman who walks this path knows her worth is not measured by the speed of his commitment. Her power lies in the slow, confident revelation of her depths, in the understanding that real union celebrates individuality rather than erasing it. So she continues, neither rushing nor withholding. Her hidden desires are no longer secrets trembling in darkness, they are treasures unveiled in their own perfect time. Like a garden in perpetual bloom, one flower opens while another waits, each petal offered when both hearts are ready. He remains captivated, not because she withholds, but because she lives as a mystery unfolding, a living testament to the truth that love is not a destination but a continual becoming. Beyond the early shimmer of attraction, a quieter magnificence begins to take root. The woman who once measured each word now moves with a natural rhythm, her essence no longer defined by concealment or display. Mystery has become her atmosphere rather than her armor. It is in the curve of her smile, the poise of her silence, the unhurried cadence of her life. He senses this with a kind of awe. The chase has transformed into devotion, the search into a journey without end. Their connection now carries the depth of a tide that cannot be forced or restrained. Days unfold with unspoken ceremony, shared glances that say more than speech, evenings where a single touch lingers like a blessing. Jung might describe this as the stage when the unconscious, once veiled in projection, steps into the light of consciousness. He no longer confuses her mystery with illusion, he recognizes it as the living expression of herself. And she, in turn, sees in him not just a lover but a fellow traveler in the endless work of becoming whole. She reveals herself in patient layers, never out of fear, never to secure his presence. Memories surface like gentle waves, childhood visions, quiet triumphs, scars that shine with resilience. Each disclosure is chosen, never extracted. He receives them as sacred trust, understanding that to listen is to be admitted into a sanctum. Respect flows both ways, wordless, unmistakable. It is the respect given to something holy. Freedom remains the oxygen of their bond. She continues to cultivate her friendships, to nurture her passions, to guard the private hours that keep her spirit alive. This independence is not a wall but a gift. It assures him that her love is a choice renewed each day, not a need that clings. He, too, retains his orbit, ambitions, friendships, solitary pursuits. Together they prove that intimacy does not require erasure of the self, it thrives when each remains whole. Sometimes the old whispers of fear attempt to return. A flicker of urgency, a shadow of control. But she meets them with the calm recognition of one who has walked this path before. Breathing deeply, she remembers the wisdom born of patience, and the specters dissolve like mist at sunrise. He feels the steadiness of her spirit and answers with trust of his own. What once might have driven them apart now only deepens their union. Passion remains, yet it has changed its color. No longer a spark that burns too quickly, it is a steady flame that warms without consuming. Every touch carries intention, every word, the gravity of choice. The excitement of early mystery has become reverence for a love that is alive, breathing, infinite. Friends notice the quiet radiance they share. There is no spectacle, no need for loud declarations. Their bond speaks through the way they move together, the effortless harmony that fills a room when they enter. It is a connection that requires no audience, yet subtly transforms the space around them. For her, this journey is more than the story of a relationship. It is the proof of her own transformation. By honoring the slow rhythm of revelation, she has discovered a strength beyond validation. The desires she once guarded as dangerous have revealed themselves as guides, leading her toward the profound truth, that love deepens not when everything is spoken, but when mystery is allowed to breathe. And so, as seasons pass, their love acquires the texture of something ancient and yet ever new, like a river that never rushes but never ceases to flow. The woman who once guarded every word now lives as an unspoken invitation. She is not hiding, she is simply whole. Each moment beside her carries the gravity of a truth that needs no proclamation. He feels it in the quiet of shared mornings, in the way her laughter ripples through a room and then settles into a deep, steady calm. This is the realm where Jung's vision of individuation reveals its quiet triumph. Two complete selves stand side by side, neither eclipsing the other, each a mirror and a mystery. He no longer approaches with the urgency of conquest. Instead, he lingers with the reverence of one who has found a rare temple and knows it must never be taken for granted. Her mystery no longer provokes restless pursuit, it inspires awe and a desire to remain. Their conversations move with the cadence of tides. They speak of memories that shaped them, of dreams that still shimmer on the edge of possibility. Sometimes hours pass in silence, and those hours feel fuller than any exchange of words. He has learned that her quiet is not absence but presence, a living proof of depth. She has learned that his steady attention is not control but devotion freely chosen. Around them, the world continues with its usual clamor, but they inhabit a softer atmosphere. Friends sense it before they understand it. There is a serenity in the way they occupy space together, a subtle harmony that requires no display. It is as if their connection bends the noise of life into a gentler music, audible only to those who pause to listen. She continues to nurture her own orbit, friendships, passions, solitary rituals. Her independence remains luminous, a clear signal that love need not demand surrender of the self. He, too, keeps faith with his own pursuits, and she delights in his freedom. This mutual respect for space keeps their desire vibrant. Instead of fading, attraction deepens because it is never chained. At times, old impulses still surface, the urge to define the future in fixed terms, the subtle wish to hold him tighter. But she meets these stirrings with the wisdom patience has given her. She knows now that love thrives in movement, in the ability to evolve. He senses her trust and responds with an openness of his own, sharing thoughts and fears he once kept hidden. Their intimacy has become a quiet conversation between souls. Each touch carries intention, each word bears the weight of choice. Passion is no longer a flash of heat but a slow, enduring flame that illuminates without consuming. They do not chase grand moments, they savor the ordinary, the brush of hands while walking, the shared breath beneath a changing sky. For her, the journey is both a love story and an inner pilgrimage. By revealing her desires only when the season was right, she has discovered that her greatest power lies in sovereignty. She has proven, to herself most of all, that love is richest when born from freedom. The hidden desires that once felt dangerous now stand revealed as wise companions, guiding her to a connection vast enough to honor two whole universes. And so they move forward, two travelers bound not by necessity but by continual choice. Their silence speaks as eloquently as their words, their presence a living testament to the truth. Time folds into their story like layers of ancient parchment, each day inscribed with quiet revelations. The woman who once balanced secrecy and disclosure with careful intent now inhabits a natural equilibrium. Mystery has ceased to be a deliberate act, it is simply the way her soul breathes. She is fully visible and yet forever unfathomable, as every true self must be. He stands beside her, sensing that her depth is endless, and instead of fearing it, he finds comfort in its permanence. Their life together has the feel of a long, unhurried pilgrimage. They share mornings thick with stillness, evenings that carry the hush of old forests. Words have become both rarer and more meaningful. When she speaks, her sentences land like carefully placed stones across a river, each one chosen, each one steady. When she is silent, the silence itself becomes a landscape they walk together, more eloquent than any declaration. Jung described individuation as the union of opposites, light and shadow, masculine and feminine, without either side devouring the other. Here that union lives in human form. He has ceased to chase illusions of possession, she has ceased to guard herself behind walls. Their connection flows between freedom and intimacy, a current that nourishes without binding. It is a love no longer about need but about conscious choice. Friends sometimes remark on the atmosphere that surrounds them, the calm intensity that seems to soften even crowded rooms. There are no grand displays, no public performances. Yet their presence together is unmistakable, as if an invisible thread draws the air toward stillness. This quiet power is the natural outcome of their patience. What was once a spark of fascination has become a fire that needs no witness to burn. She continues to live a life expansive and self-directed. Friendships flourish, personal passions thrive. Her independence is not a barrier but a beacon. It signals that love can deepen without devouring the self, that partnership can enhance rather than consume individuality. He mirrors this autonomy, pursuing his own callings while holding space for hers. Each respects the other's orbit, and that mutual respect keeps desire alive. Sometimes the old whispers of urgency return, a fleeting thought of binding the future, a momentary fear of impermanence. She recognizes these as remnants of an earlier self and lets them pass like shadows at dusk. He senses her serenity and offers his own in return. Together they have built a bond resilient enough to withstand change, silence, and even the unknown. Their intimacy has evolved into something both tender and profound. Passion still flickers, but it is no longer frantic. It has the steadiness of an eternal flame, a warmth that requires neither spectacle nor proof. Each glance, each touch, each shared breath becomes a quiet sacrament. They are no longer chasing the extraordinary, they are discovering that the ordinary, when inhabited with reverence, is already extraordinary. For her, this love is inseparable from her own awakening. By honoring the slow rhythm of revelation, she has found a strength that comes only from self-possession. The desires she once kept hidden have guided her here, not as burdens but as teachers. They led her to a truth more radiant than any early confession could provide, that love thrives not through complete exposure, but through the harmony of mystery and trust. So they continue, two souls walking side by side, each whole. Seasons turn, and their bond matures with the steadiness of an old oak whose roots run deep and unseen. The woman who once guarded her inner world with deliberate pauses now carries her history like a luminous thread woven through every gesture. She is not a riddle to be solved, she is a universe to be experienced, infinite in its unfolding. He feels this infinity each time he reaches for her hand, aware that what he holds is not possession but partnership. Their daily life has a rhythm both ordinary and sacred. Morning light spills across their kitchen as they share quiet rituals, coffee brewed in silence, a glance exchanged over the rim of a cup, a small smile that speaks of 1,000 shared memories. These moments are not filler between passions, they are the passion itself. Jung might call this the embodiment of the self in relationship, the meeting of two individuated souls who mirror and magnify one another without erasure. She continues to reveal new facets of her story, not from urgency but from a natural ripening. Childhood dreams that once lay hidden now surface like pearls in a calm tide. Old scars are shared with the serenity of someone who has long since made peace with them. Each revelation is a choice, freely given, and he receives them as gifts rather than trophies. In his listening there is no hunger to own, only the gratitude of a witness to something holy. Freedom remains the core of their devotion. She cherishes the friendships and passions that keep her spirit expansive, and he honors them as part of what makes her whole. He, too, follows his own path, and she delights in his autonomy. This mutual respect is the quiet engine of their desire. Because neither seeks to confine the other, attraction continues to bloom like a perennial flower, renewed, surprising, alive. From time to time, shadows drift across their path, a fleeting worry about the unknown, a sudden impulse to secure what cannot be caged. Yet she meets these echoes with the calm recognition earned through patience. She remembers the wisdom of the slow unveiling, and the shadows dissolve before they can settle. He feels the steadiness of her presence and offers his own, a silent affirmation that trust is stronger than fear. Their intimacy has taken on the grandeur of simplicity. A walk at dusk becomes a ceremony of belonging. A quiet evening, 2 books open but unread, becomes a testament to the ease of shared solitude. Each glance, each brush of fingers, carries the weight of deliberate choice. Passion is no longer a spark racing to consume, it is a constant flame, a light that warms without demanding. She understands now that the desires she once hid were never meant to remain buried. They were guides, leading her toward the realization that true union is not a loss of self but a celebration of it. In his eyes she sees the reflection of her own wholeness, and in her presence he discovers depths of tenderness and courage he had not known before. Their love needs no declaration, no spectacle. It lives in the quiet harmony of 2 souls who choose each other freely, again and again. Around them, friends feel the quiet radiance that requires no explanation. It is the kind of connection that bends time, turning the ordinary into the eternal. For her, this journey is both completion and beginning. As years ripple outward, their love settles into a resonance that feels almost elemental. It is the slow heartbeat of earth beneath seasons, the hush of stars turning through endless night. The woman who once weighed every disclosure now moves with effortless clarity. She is not hiding, not revealing, she is simply being, and her being is a revelation in itself. The mystery she carries is no longer an enigma to be solved, it is the natural depth of a soul that has embraced its own infinity. He experiences this depth as both grounding and liberating. When he looks at her, he senses not only the woman beside him but the vastness she embodies, her friendships, her passions, her solitary reflections. None of it threatens him, all of it draws him closer. He knows he will never reach the bottom of her ocean, and it is that endlessness that keeps him awake to wonder. Jung would call this the moment when the archetypes of the lover and the self merge into conscious harmony, where desire becomes reverence. Their days are a tapestry of deliberate simplicity. Morning walks where words are unnecessary. Long afternoons filled with quiet pursuits, painting, reading, shared silences that feel like prayer. At night, They might speak of dreams or simply listen to the soft cadence of each other's breathing. These small moments are not a pause in life's drama, they are the drama itself, charged with the vitality of the eternal present. She continues to nurture her own world beyond their shared life. Her art deepens, her circle of friends remains vibrant, her independent adventures keep unfolding. He watches her leave for a weekend retreat or an evening with friends and feels no fear of absence, only admiration for her wholeness. His own life mirrors this freedom. He travels, creates, pursues ambitions that enrich rather than divide. Their bond thrives not in constant proximity but in the trust that space itself is a form of devotion. Occasionally, the old reflexes of the human heart flicker, an urge to grasp the future, a sudden pang of vulnerability. But she meets these stirrings with the serenity born of long practice. She breathes, lets the feeling rise and fade, and in that simple act proves again that love's strength lies not in control but in surrender to the living moment. He senses her calm and answers with equal steadiness, their shared silence a stronger vow than any spoken promise. Intimacy between them has become a quiet sacrament. A touch across a table, the brush of shoulders as they pass in a hallway, a smile exchanged in the middle of mundane tasks, each act holds the density of ritual. Passion has not waned, it has matured, finding its power in constancy rather than urgency. Desire is no longer a chase but a presence, warm and infinite. She reflects sometimes on the journey that brought them here, the early restraint, the careful guarding of her 5 hidden desires, the patience that once felt like risk. Now she sees that every moment of waiting shaped the love they inhabit. What she once kept secret was never about denial, it was about allowing love to unfold in its rightful season. Those desires were teachers, guiding her toward the truth that intimacy and independence are not opposites but allies. Their friends, watching from the edges, sense the rare quality of their connection. It requires no explanation, no grand gestures. It simply radiates, a quiet force that changes the atmosphere around them. The quiet rhythm of their love has now become a presence larger than either of them, a steady constellation shining through every season of their lives. What began as a dance of careful revelation has matured into something vast and serene, like a mountain lake reflecting sky and stars without effort. The woman who once weighed each secret as if it were fragile crystal now carries her entire being with effortless grace. Mystery has become her natural state, not because she hides, but because she is infinite, and infinity can never be fully told. He moves beside her with the calm of one who has traveled far and found a home that asks for nothing but authenticity. Her independence no longer surprises him, it nourishes him. He sees how her friendships thrive, how her art continues to evolve, how her private hours remain sacred. Each of these elements is a note in the music of her life, and he knows that the melody would not be complete if any were lost. Far from feeling excluded, he is inspired to protect that wholeness, to cultivate his own. Their connection now speaks through the smallest gestures. A glance across a crowded room carries the weight of entire conversations. The brush of her fingertips along his arm contains more devotion than 1,000 declarations. They have discovered the paradox that Jung so often described: intimacy is deepest where freedom is honored. In the spaciousness between them, love breathes, desire endures, and individuality flourishes. The physical world reflects their inner harmony. They move through ordinary days with an ease that astonishes those who watch. Friends remark on the serenity that seems to follow them, an atmosphere that needs no words. There are no staged displays of affection, no need to prove what is already self-evident. Their bond is a living presence, subtle yet undeniable, a quiet force that shapes every room they enter. She understands now that the hidden desires of her past were never merely impulses to be managed. They were sacred guides. The longing for union taught her the value of autonomy. The wish to be central revealed the strength of standing apart. The craving for certainty led her to embrace impermanence. The urge to share every wound taught her the timing of vulnerability. And the temptation to control destiny revealed the true power of surrender. Each desire, once dangerous in its urgency, has become a lesson inscribed in her soul. He, too, has changed beneath the influence of their shared journey. The pursuit that once defined his approach has matured into reverence. He no longer seeks to capture her mystery, he seeks to dwell within it, to be transformed by it. In her presence he finds his own depths, his own courage, his own uncharted possibilities. Their love has become a mirror in which each sees the infinite reflected. Sometimes, in the quiet of night, she contemplates the path they have walked, the patience, the restraint, the choice to reveal herself star by star. What once felt like risk now feels like destiny. The very mystery that once seemed like a barrier has become the sanctuary of their union. It is the space where both can continue to grow, where change itself becomes a form of devotion. They have reached a love that does not clamor for attention. The final movement of their journey unfolds like the slow turning of the heavens, a rhythm both endless and complete. What began with a handful of carefully guarded desires has blossomed into a love vast enough to contain silence, change, and eternity. She walks through the world radiant and self-possessed, her presence a living poem. The woman who once questioned when to speak and when to hold back now understands that revelation and concealment were never opposites. They were two halves of the same sacred breath. He senses this truth each time their eyes meet. There is no need for promises carved in stone, no urgency to define what is already undeniable. Their connection exists beyond the fragile boundaries of time. It thrives because it is chosen, freely, daily, with no shadow of possession. He sees her not as someone to complete him but as a mirror of his own infinite depths, and in that reflection he continues to discover new facets of himself. Their days are ordinary only to those who cannot perceive the extraordinary woven through them. A quiet breakfast, the scent of rain in late evening, the gentle clasp of hands while crossing a street, each moment carries the weight of an unspoken vow. Passion is no longer a spark to be struck but a steady flame that lights their shared path. Friends feel it without needing explanation, as if the air around them hums with an unseen harmony. She continues to nurture the vast landscape of her own life. Her art evolves, her friendships remain luminous, her solitary rituals deepen. This independence is not a threat but a celebration. He delights in the breadth of her world, understanding that her freedom is part of the love they share. His own life reflects the same truth. They stand as two pillars, each strong in itself, forming an arch that can hold the infinite sky. The 5 desires that once pulsed in secret have completed their transformation. The longing for union has become the joy of 2 galaxies moving in concert, each retaining its own stars. The wish to be the center has softened into mutual reverence, where each is sun and planet in turn. The craving for certainty has been replaced by trust in the eternal now. The urge to reveal every scar has matured into vulnerability offered as a gift, never as a demand. And the impulse to control destiny has dissolved into the serene courage to let love unfold in its own sacred time. Now, in the deep quiet of night, she sometimes reflects on the path that brought them here. Every pause, every silence, every withheld confession was not a barrier but a bridge. By honoring the slow rhythm of revelation, she has cultivated a love that breathes like the sea, powerful, infinite, and free. She sees clearly that the mystery she protected was never about keeping him at a distance, it was about allowing both of them to grow into the fullness of who they were meant to be. This is the culmination and the beginning, a circle without end. They walk side by side not because they must, but because they choose to, again and again. Their story is not a fairy tale of halves made whole, but a testament to the miracle